The body of 28-year-old Quadri Ogunbode has been exhumed from the shallow grave where he was secretly buried in Ojo local government area of Lagos State. His body, covered in dirt, was finally pulled from the ground after days of desperate searching by his grieving family and the authorities. But how did a young man with a bright future end up buried in such a cruel and unmarked grave? Quadri was not just anybody. He was a young graduate of Lagos State University, full of life and dreams. He was a hardworking and responsible son, loved by his family and friends. But all of that was stolen from him in a way no one could have ever imagined. It all started on January 16th, 2025. It was a normal day and Quadri was heading home after a long day at school. On his way, his phone rang. It was his girlfriend. She wasn't feeling well and asked him to buy her something to eat. Being the caring person he was, he stopped by a shop, bought the food, and met her halfway to give it to her. After making sure she was okay, he continued his journey home. They kept talking on the phone, laughing and chatting just like any other day. But as he got close to the Celestial Church of Christ, Ileri Olua Parish, Elasutu, something happened. He suddenly told his girlfriend, "Let me call you back." Some people stopped me. His voice was calm, but something felt strange. It was as if he knew something was wrong, but didn't want to alarm her. He promised to call back. That call never came. Later that night, around 9 p.m., his mother's phone rang. It was Quadri. Relief washed over her. But then he said something unusual. "Mama, please send me 10,000 naira. His mother was surprised. Quadri was not the type to ask for money like that. She asked why he needed it, but he didn't explain. Instead, he said something that made her uneasy. "Don't worry, I will find another way." And then he hung up. His mother felt something was wrong. It wasn't just the request for money, it was the way he spoke. A few hours later, Quadri called his friend asking for the same 10,000 naira. This time he said he needed it to pay for his generator, but something was off. His friend could hear it in his voice. Quadri didn't sound normal. His voice was shaky, and in the background, there were voices of men. They were calling his name, telling him what to say. That was the last time anyone heard from him. By morning, his phone was switched off. He didn't come home. His family was now in full panic mode. His mother's heart raced. She knew deep down that something terrible had happened. His brother, who was in Ibadan, got a call from their parents. Without wasting time, he rushed to Lagos. By Saturday, the family couldn't sit still anymore. They had to find him. They went to his apartment hoping to get answers. What they saw shocked them. The house was empty, not just untidy, completely empty. Everything was gone. His clothes, his books, his personal belongings, nothing was left. It was as if he had never lived there. But this raised even more terrifying questions. Who packed up his things? Did the killers take him to his apartment and force him to help them clear out his own house? Did they kill him first and then return to his apartment later to wipe out all traces of his life? If they really went back to his apartment, wouldn't someone have seen them carrying out his belongings? The fear and confusion deepened. They went to the last place he was seen, the Celestial Church. But when they got there, the church members all pretended they had never seen him before. Something wasn't right. The family went straight to the police, begging them to track his phone. But instead of acting fast, the police asked for money. Pay 100,000 naira first. Quadri's father felt his heart sink. His son was missing, and the police were demanding money before helping. He had no choice. He borrowed money from friends and family. He did everything he could just to raise the amount. Finally, the police began their investigation, and what they found was shocking. On January 17, at exactly 2 a.m., someone transferred 1,500,000 naira from Quadri's account. His family was stunned. Just hours before, he had been begging for 10,000 naira. Now, all his money was gone. The money was sent to different people. One of them was Pastor Wepitoji Babaniye, the shepherd of the Celestial Church, who received 70,000 naira. Another 300,000 naira was sent to a man named Sheriff Adayu. Even stranger, someone used Quadri's phone to buy 10,000 naira worth of airtime and sent it to Sheriff. This was no longer a simple case of a missing person. It was something much darker. The police checked Quadri's last calls and found that he had been speaking with a certain young woman. A detective came up with a plan. He told Quadri's younger brother to befriend her. She fell for the trick and even sent a picture of herself. The picture held an important clue. She was standing in front of the Celestial Church, the same place Quadri was last heard from. The police set a trap. They invited her to Lagos State University, pretending it was for a meeting. The moment she arrived, they arrested her. Then they did something even smarter. Using her phone, they called the number that received the 10,000 naira airtime. The man who answered, Sheriff Adayo. At that moment, the case cracked wide open. But the biggest shock was yet to come. The girl they arrested, she wasn't just anybody. She was the pastor's daughter. The police brought in the pastor for questioning, but he denied everything. He even acted like he didn't know his own daughter. But then, Sheriff broke under pressure. He confessed. He told the police that 6 of them had planned everything, and the leader, the pastor himself. Sheriff admitted that he was the one who used Quadri's phone to transfer the money. They all shared the money, including the pastor and his daughter. But there was still one chilling question. If they only wanted to steal his money, why did they kill him? Then came the worst news of all. A shallow grave was found near the church. Inside, buried in the cold earth, was Quadri Ogunbode. His father, the man who had borrowed money just to search for his son, stood there with tears in his eyes and asked just one question. Where is my son? The real question now is that will justice be served? This heartbreaking tragedy reminds us of the dangers that lurk in places we least expect. Quadri trusted the wrong people and it cost him his life. Let this be a lesson to all. Always be cautious, especially with your money and personal information. If someone suddenly asks you for money in a way that feels strange, take a step back and question it. If you ever feel unsafe, don't try to handle things alone. Tell someone immediately. And most importantly, we must demand a better system. If the police had acted faster, if there was no corruption, if people had spoken up earlier, maybe Quadri would still be alive today. Justice must be served. His killers must not go free. But beyond that, we must all learn from this tragedy and do everything we can to prevent another innocent life from being taken.